Greetings, everyone. Welcome. We are here for the Earth Ley Lines and Chakra Energy Vortex and Michael Line webinar. So I am excited. I'm Anna Jones, and I'm going to pull up my share screen really quickly so that we can all look together at this and get that started from the beginning here. And then I'll dive into explaining a little bit about what we're going to be covering. So this recording is actually not the live webinar. It's a recording that I'm trying to do to replace the fact that the live webinar that we did a few days ago did not record properly. There was a glitch in Zoom, and so it didn't, and that's why I'm here only by myself instead of with my husband Philip, who was with me during that live webinar. But there were so many people that registered to be a part of the webinar who didn't get a chance to participate in it live, and they're looking forward to the recording, that I decided I couldn't bear to not create some kind of recording for all of you. So I'm redoing the presentation, this time by myself without my husband Philip being with me, and it's going to I'm going to try and do an abbreviated version, but still touch on all of the important and interesting and intriguing details that we wanted to share with you on this subject matter of the Earth's energy vortexes, ley lines, and especially the Michael line in mystical France. This is going to be a combination of a presentation, lecture type presentation I'm going to give, and a combination of a travelogue for our upcoming Mystical France retreat, where we will be on the Michael line in France. So I'll be talking about that at the end of my presentation, but I'm going to go ahead and just scroll through a few slides here. Don't have images of everything I'm going to be talking about tonight, but I do have images of some of the things, so there's a few slides to scroll through. But I've introduced myself briefly. You can go on to my website, AnnaJonesOnline.com, which is my professional website for all the things that I do and offer. I'm an interfaith minister, a holistic energy medicine and energy healing practitioner, and I'm also a modern day mystic. And you can see all the private sessions that I offer on my AnnaJonesOnline website, as well as my podcast, which is called the Celestial Voice Podcast. It's a good place of being able to see some of the work that I do. There's three aspects of my ministry. One aspect of my ministry is energy healing and spiritual healing work, which I'm going to be talking about throughout the course of this webinar. And another aspect of my ministry is what I call my angelic ministry, especially working with the angels, the guardian angels, the archangels, and especially the Archangel Michael, and some of the mystical experiences, messages, channeled information, etc., that I receive in deep trance state with Archangel Michael, is on that Celestial Voice podcast that you'll find on my AnnaJonesOnline.com website. In addition to the free podcast, which is also available on iTunes, you'll also find a more detailed bio of myself, as well as on the homepage of the AnnaJonesOnline.com website. You'll also see a video interview that I did with the Shift Network, which interviewed me, asked me to be one of 30 mystics that they featured last year in their Mystics Summit. And there's a great interview that helps you to kind of learn much more about me. It's about a 30-minute video that's there on the homepage. There's the bio page also, where you can learn much more about me as an interfaith minister, as a holistic healer, and also in my background in working with the angelic realm and the angelic kingdom. So there's so many different aspects of my work. I don't have time to talk about it all tonight. But one of the other aspects of my ministry is helping people to, in a non-sectarian, ecumenical, interfaith, non-denominational, all those ways, all those terms apply, make their personal connection with the sacred and their personal connection with the divine that they already have personally in their lives, and deepen in that through different lectures, workshops, webinars such as this, and a lot of different teaching that I do, training that I offer, as well as retreats that I lead and coordinate. And I've been leading retreats for many years to many different parts of the world. And our most recent upcoming retreat, which we're going to be talking about when it comes time to talk about the Michael line, is our Mystical France retreat. It's a soul journey to Mont Saint Michel, which you see down here in the image on the bottom right-hand corner, an image of me and the small group of people that we took there back in 2012, as well as in 2014. I was, like I said, planning on being, if the recording had worked out, my husband was with me a few days ago when we did this webinar live, and his name is Philip Jones, and he was able to introduce himself. What I'll tell you is that there is a wonderful bio written up for him on mysticalfrance.com. If you go to About Our Team on mysticalfrance.com, you'll see a detailed version of my bio that's different from the one that's on my professional personal website, because the one that is on the Mystical France website has much more of my experience as a retreat leader in places that I've gone on retreat and retreat centers that I've worked with and been involved with for many years as well, including being on the board of advisors for Mandala Springs Wellness Retreat Center here in California, and my husband being one of the board of directors for the Mandala Springs Wellness Retreat Center here in California. So we have quite an extensive background, Philip and I. Philip is my twin soul, and we've been married for 27 years. And in that time period, we have been blessed to be of spiritual service. Because we're twin souls, there's a lot of things we have that complement each other, and there's a lot of things that we have in common, but there's also other things that are strengths that he has that I'm always in awe of, and gifts that he has that I'm always in awe of. He has an extensive background in spirituality, an extensive background in interfaith spirituality. He was also a Hindu monk for 17 years before I met him, and he has a lot of background in science as well, with a long ago degree that he received in engineering, as well as a master's degree in counseling psychology. And I have so many wonderful, amazing things to say about him that it would take too long to say it all. But we are excited to be going again, to be getting back into retreats again after a break that we've taken from them, and also after the pandemic, and excited to be returning to this amazing place of Mystical France. So we'll tell you more about that as time goes on. In the meantime, Philip's depth in knowledge, most people who know him consider him to be one of the wisest people they've ever met, or the calmest, most peaceful person that they've ever met, inspiring person they've ever met, and he's truly an inspiration to many. To many. So I'm going to begin going into our presentation. The point I wanted to make tonight is, in these first two slides, is that everything is made up of energy. That includes our body, mind, emotion, spirit. And that in the ancient times, that energy was considered to be all spiritual energy. There was different words for it. The spirit was actually one of the most common words for what we now call energy, and especially life force energy. And there's a great deal of misunderstanding about what life force energy is, and a lot of people think that since we don't have the science yet to be able to detect all of the things with the life force energy, that it's not real or that it doesn't exist. And yet the ancients for multiple millennia have believed in it. In my interfaith studies and in Philip's interfaith studies, for many decades now, we've looked at the spiritual traditions of the world, including indigenous traditions, ancient traditions, and found that there's some kind of concept of the life force energy in almost all of them, even though there's different terminologies to use, etc. And usually some of those ancient words and terms have to do with spirit. So really, when we talk about the energy and the energy anatomy of our body, or the energy and the energy anatomy of the Earth's body, we're really talking about the anatomy of our spirit, or the energy, the force the presence of the spirit that's there. But in modern day, we have different terminologies we use. We have this word energy, and it's a great term to use because I think it really helps us to begin to try to understand it a little bit more clearly. So the anatomy of our spirit, the anatomy of our energy system includes many different aspects and parts of it. And this is another thing that I think in time, it's going to take science time to be able to catch up to some of this ancient knowledge and the ancient wisdom, and to be able to reconcile some of it, especially I think findings within quantum physics will be where we can find reconciliation of the Newtonian physics model with the quantum physics model, help us be able to understand some of what this life force energy, the energy that even goes beyond electromagnetic energy. We do know electromagnetic energy. We have the ability to have devices and things that are able to detect electromagnetic energy, but the life force energy itself, we have sensitives, and like such as people such as myself. I'm an Earth Empath, and I'm able to empathically feel energy within the earth. I'm also an emotional empath, empathically feel the energy of emotions. I'm a physical empath, empathically feel the energy that is associated with the body, especially certain illnesses, imbalances, etc. In addition to be a clairvoyant, clairaudient, and a modern day mystic, in which I serve also as a modern day angel medium. So all of those sensitivities are things that I've had my whole life, and I have been aware of energy and seeing energy around people for as long as I can remember. My first memory in life, actually, it was when I was 3 years old, and I saw the life force and energy move, the life force and the spirit move and leave and depart through the eyes of my great grandfather when I was with him when he passed. So that's a long story. I don't have time to tell, but it is the first time I can remember of seeing energy, and then having many different experiences of it throughout my childhood, seeing energy and energy beings, and beings that are made up of pure energy, beings such as angels, such as spirits that were present at different times, different places, etc. So seeing energy beings for as long as I can remember, and then beginning to work with at the age of 14. So actually for 42 years, I've been working with the energy of the anatomy of our spirit and the energy of the body, mind, emotions as well. So at the age of 14 is when I began doing a full-on charismatic youth group experience. And that was life-changing. Also, one of the most prominent spiritual awakening, I'd say the first spiritual awakening was at age 3, when I saw that light, when I saw that energy depart. But then, another spiritual awakening, profound one, happening during those years that I was again just learning how to be the instrument and work with that spiritual energy for healing purposes, be the instrument of that energy and that divine life force energy for healing purposes. And then at the age of 18, I began studying everything and anything else I could find that could help me to understand it. I didn't have even the word energy until 18, when I started branching out and looking at other traditions and looking at other spiritual practices and other healing practices that were ancient, and studying ancient the methodologies helped me understand more of what I was seeing and feeling and experiencing, and these highly transformational, profound, energy, spiritual healing experiences that I was having, and knowing that there has to be more to it, and a whole world opened up to me. In that and my whole studies that led me to becoming an interfaith minister in 1993, in which I knew I needed to have the healing ministry always be a part, energy medicine always being a part of what I do and who I am. So that said, the anatomy of our spirit includes, and we're going to be talking about this because only for a little while, but I'm going to be talking about it because the things that we have as part of our energy anatomy, the earth has too, only so much more profoundly, right? Because the earth body is so much greater than our own, not just in size, but also in magnitude, right? In the magnitude of how much energy that there is in the earth, not just the size of the earth. But it's still important to understand that I am energy and the earth is energy. So we're first talking about how I am energy, because these terminologies of like certain parts of our energy anatomy, we apply them to the earth. We're always trying to use terminologies of our energy anatomy, especially in our modern day, try to use these terminologies and bring it all together, to try to understand. They may have had other terms, and I'm sure there were other words and hopefully other, ways of understanding this in ancient times that is not what we're using in our modern day vernacular, but it's important to use. For example, chakras. You see both in the picture that on my screen, it appears here on the left, and the picture that's in the middle, that you see that there are 7 different locations of 7 major chakras. The yogis of India have taught us most of what we know today, thousands of years tradition, over 5,000-year-old tradition coming out of India, most of what we know today about the chakra system of our body. Also that these also exist in the earth as well. And chakra, or chakra, as it would be pronounced more accurately, chakra we say here in the West, and chakra would be another way of pronouncing that in the East. These energy centers are spinning, spiraling vortexes of energy, moving energy in and out through our entire being, and those are very important parts of who we are. And everything is energy first, before it becomes matter, before it becomes form. So that which exists on the energetic level influences the materialization, influences the material form, because matter is made up of nothing but energy. So there's the chakras that we have as part of our energy anatomy. And you see those both front and back side in this picture here in the middle. And we also have an energy meridian, a central meridian. Think of it as an invisible axis, like the earth has an invisible axis that runs vertically, literally connecting us to everything in all of creation through above, the way that axis connects upward through above. This is a very complicated just introduction I'm giving you, but please try to just follow along with me, and you can always learn more about these things through my I Am Energy course that I teach, or through other types of energy trainings or books or things like that online. I always recommend Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mace as being one of those books that's good, but she doesn't talk about everything. She just talks about the chakras, but she doesn't talk about the whole of the energy anatomy. The vertical energy axis is very important. It's not just bringing through electromagnetic energy. Again, neither are the chakras. Neither is the aura, the energy field around the body, which you see very well in this picture on the left. And I like the way the picture on the right also shows that it can kind of appear more in like mandala kind of patterns and mandala kind of shapes and forms, and the way that the energy can kind of like fan out away from us and extend out away from us. So we have an energy field, which is electromagnetic energy, and the pranic energy, or the chi energy, which there are many different words for the life force energy that includes electromagnetic energy, but more, right? So remember, when we're talking about life force energy, the ancient words of chi are used in China, ki in Japan, and other parts of Asia uses either one of those two. Prana in India, both in Buddhism and in Hinduism, the word for the life force energy is prana. Mana is also used. Interestingly, I believe it's a word from ancient Hebrew, and to represent the life force energy that can sustain us and feed us no matter what, and no matter what circumstances. And it's also a word in Hawaiian that basically means the force of life, the energy of spirit, the energy of life, that word mana. So those are the most popular, well-known terms for the life force energy. There are other words as well in other languages, but those are the ones I'm going to refer to. So the chi, or the prana, the mana, is including electromagnetic energy, but so much more, so much more in frequency and in scale and scope, even in our own energy system, in our own energy anatomy. So the energy that flows vertically through our invisible axis is the life force energy, is the prana, is the chi, which can include electromagnetic energy and more. And then also through our energy fields as well. And the energy field around us isn't just something that is disconnected from everything else. It's actually the thing that connects us and interconnects us and makes us one and connected to each other. There's a field of life, or one energy matrix, so to speak, one energy grid, both cosmic energy grid and an earth energy grid, and this interconnection that we have, because the aura doesn't just extend just outward around us in a horizontal way, but as you see in the picture here on the left, also above us, also below us, and connects us down into the earth itself. The energy system that we have doesn't just connect upwards. You're not seeing very well in any of these pictures, except for a little bit on the one on the left, of how it also connects downwards into the earth and connects us into the energy system of the earth itself. We are literally connected into the energy system of the earth. You'll see here on the picture on the left, which is an image by Alex Gray. I find that his artwork is fantastic. You can visit his website to see more of it, Alex Gray. You'll see here that he's depicting that not only are the chakras there, not only is the energy field there, and this web of life, which the ancients call it, the web of life, but then there are also running through our body, running through our spirit, running through our entire being, right? So it's not just our body, but running through our entire being, but connected to the body, these lines that are running vertically up and down through the hands, down through the legs, down through the central part of the abdomen, which are called meridians. The understanding of the meridian system comes to us from ancient China, and the Chinese healing art of acupuncture works quite specifically with those meridians that are in the body. And when we talk about ley lines tonight, the subject of ley lines, you can't really truly discuss them and really understand what they really are without understanding the concept of meridians. Because some people just like to think of ley lines and describe them as just straight lines on a map. Just take a map and draw a straight line, and wherever it intersects, that's the ley line. I've even communicated recently with someone who's kind of going about redrawing ley lines on his own type of map, because the other ones weren't perfectly straight, and this is the real ley line, and it's just basically not connected to anything energetic whatsoever. So there's the ancients knew and understood this energy anatomy. Some of the cultures understood certain parts of it better than others, and some of the most ancient cultures, I find the most advanced ancient cultures, had kind of pretty deep understanding of all of it. That in the Earth's energy anatomy, that the earth, that I am energy, and that the earth is energy, that these things also are there. There are meridians in the earth. There are chakras of the earth. The earth has energy fields both inside it, all within it, and then extending out beyond it as well. And the earth has an invisible energy axis. And what's been detected primarily, first and foremost, that we're most aware of and most easily able to tune into about that is the electromagnetism of that energy axis, and of course the two poles, or the two polarities, as a result of that. And so polarities are part of energy, because electromagnetism is part of energy, is part of the life force energy. But the life force energy, let's remember, includes so much more than that. And the Earth's energy is immense. And because the body of the Earth and the magnitude of how much energy is in the Earth, around the Earth, moving in and out from the Earth, there's not just seven major chakras. There's many different chakras that exist in the earth. And again, a chakra is a spinning vortex, like you see there, right? A spinning vortex and moves energy in and out. However, sometimes in certain earth vortexes, the energy will be flowing out more than in. And that's the way it is in our chakras too. There can actually be times that our chakras are moving energy out more than they're moving energy in. And so that's a fascinating thing. I think it's very, very interesting, intriguing. Let me just take a sip of water here. That it happens to ourselves and that it happens in the earth as well. In addition, those vortexes, some of them are vortexes that can even be portals. They're not just vortexes in the earth moving energy in and out from the earth and through us and to us, and very powerful places. And usually power places and sacred sites are located either at the vortex centers or along the meridian lines. If you think about the ley lines being the meridian lines that you see here on the earth and in the earth, right? So not just on the surface of the earth, not just on a map, but inside, the way that the energy currents, the energy pathways, that's another word I like to use and have us all think about, is that there are these energy pathways, that the meridians are energy pathways in our body. The meridians are energy pathways distributing the energy all throughout the earth. And then you'll see here also in this meridian, those little white dots right along those lines. I know it's kind of hard to see because you've got all of the things going on there, but there are the lines, the meridian lines, and then there are these little white dots around them. Those white dots around them are key points. They're known in acupuncture as acupuncture points. They're key points along the meridian lines, along those energy pathways, where energy builds up and energy can be released, it can be activated, etc. It can be stimulated. If there's not enough energy, it can be stimulated to increase the energy. If there's too much energy, it can be stimulated in order to release some of that energy, etc. And so those points are called acupuncture points or acupressure points in Chinese medicine. But when it comes to talking about the earth and the ley lines, those points tend to be also places where other small little vortexes of energy are. There's little vortexes of energy, and they can be quite common, and there can be lots of them. And there's major vortexes of energy, and some of those major vortexes of energy are hubs, energetic hubs, like the chakras are energetic hubs. And some of those major energetic chakra hubs also serve as portals. What we're going to be talking about tonight at the end, when I get to talking about the retreat, is how Mont Saint Michel is one of those places. It's an intersection and a very important point on the Michael line, the Michael ley line of the Earth, which is one of the most famous lines. And it is a hub, and it is a chakra, and it is a portal. And this is something that I'll explain more as we go back down through and as we get to talking about that. But it's not the only place. There's lots of these places on the earth, right? And people have been working to map it for a very long time. The ancients were mapping it in their own way. The modern day people who are studying geomancy are mapping it also. Geomancy is the study of the Earth's energy and the ability to try to detect it and map it and work with it and do things with that energy to help us to make our life more beneficial. There's a fantastic book I highly recommend, and the book is actually called Geomancy, and it is published by Wooden Books. There's 6 different authors that have contributed to the book, which is why the authors' names are not all on the book cover itself. And it's the subtitle is Earth Grids, Ley Lines, Feng Shui, Divination, Dowsing, and Dragons. And so we'll talk about dragons. How does that fit into any of it? We'll be talking about that too, because of the ancient cultures, especially the ancient Asian cultures, that have attributed the energy that flows through the ley lines and called them the dragon lines as like dragon-like energy. They call them the dragon lines. Here in this picture, you'll see The one on the left is a modern day map. It is not the only map that's out there. There are lots of different versions. I feel that if we were really able to track them all, trace them all, that it would be like all over the place. The one here on the right kind of shows that a little bit more, but it really more like tries to just depict the whole concept of not necessarily where they are, but the whole concept of there being a web of life, cosmically that we're connected to, a web of life that's all around us through the energy fields and the way that our energy flows and connects through the energy fields around us, and the web of life in the earth and the web of life of the earth that we are part and parcel of, and that is there are certain key points and key parts of that. So what I find is that when it comes to trying to map these things, it's also quite difficult because the Earth is not flat. The Earth is not. The Earth is a sphere, and this isn't a globe, but it's a sphere that I wanted to bring out and to hold. And so it's really hard to draw a straight line on a sphere, like not a flat, flat two-dimensional kind of map. So yes, we can draw a straight line around the sphere, but still that would arc, right? But really, we're not even talking about lines that are on the surface, which is the other thing that's difficult about looking at maps, right? Because again, it's like the maps are like lines that are drawn on the surface of the Earth and a flat 2D type of thing on the surface of the Earth. We're really talking about inside, right? Like you see in this with the body, right? Inside the body. I think he had to kind of show the artwork and depict it this way because of how it's not outside. These meridians are inside the Earth, and so it's very hard. How do you map that, and how do you map drawing that, or begin to try to draw that, especially something on the scale and size and scope, magnitude of the Earth itself. So we also need to understand what the source of maps are if you see them. There are some really good online groups, and there are people that are working on this, and that they're fascinated, both amateurs and professionals, people who've been working with geomancy and dowsing as a way of being able to determine them. But there's also people who are just they're coming up with different theories and they're putting it out there as theories, which is great. I think we all need to help each other, understand this, because I think there's been a lot of lost knowledge regarding this subject. I began to be, interested in it at the age of 18 and feel very drawn to begin to understand what some of these energy, special energetic sites are, especially some of the vortex sites that I was drawn to. But people I think it's an increasingly interesting subject for people, and there's so much that we still have to learn, and so much that we still have to discover, and so much science that still needs to come in, that we need to look at everything, and not doubt it, but to question it, and to seek, to confirm some of the theories that are out there. I'm not promoting either one of these maps here as being 100% accurate. It's not an easy thing to do, but I've tried to pick some pictures so you can at least kind of get an idea and give you this explanation. The main thing is, I believe we feel it. It's like if we go to some of these places, we can feel it. The most sensitive of all of the devices for feeling these energies is our own body, mind, spirit, is our own empathic ability, energy sensing, capabilities that come with the fact that we are energy too, and thus we can be influenced and experience the energy along these lines, along these places, and and experience them in a very kind of direct, personal way. So it's also possible that they're not just at special sacred sites that are most famous around the world. It's also possible that they might even be in your own backyard. One of the things I did like this picture for, and one of the reasons why I chose it, is not because of the locations of the hubs, but where the larger portals show up, but because it did show the United States, and it shows like, okay, many of these lines could be going through the United States, and we don't even know all of where they are. I'd say some of the ley lines, especially throughout Europe, have been mapped by geomancers for a lot longer, but the United States, there hasn't been that long that the work has been done. However, there are ancient indigenous peoples that have sacred sites located along some of them, and I'll talk about some of those as we go along through. I'm going to be talking about some of the ones that are kind of famous ones around the world, and I'm not going to say too much, but I just want to kind of list some and give you some ideas about them. Like I said, when we come into contact with some of these places, you can feel it. When the ancient come into contact with some of these places, you can feel it. There's some sense of something. Even people who aren't very sensitive to energy can oftentimes feel something, and they can feel it even if they just feel there's something special about it, even if they don't have words to describe what it is that they're feeling. So I wanted to put this one up here. This is one of the most well-known, I would say, not the most well-known, but one of the most well-known of the sacred sites that are located on both ley lines, and it is a vortex center. And this particular sacred site is called Stonehenge, and Stonehenge is located in England, and Stonehenge is not only aligned with below, right? So I was talking about how some of these vortexes are, on ley lines, and how some of the vortexes are hubs where even ley lines cross or ley lines connect. And then there's also some of them that are portals too, that are portals into other realms, into other dimensions. There's also some of them that are cosmic portals, and Stonehenge happens to be one that fits all of the above, right? Like all those categories, Stonehenge fits. I would also put, I don't have slides and pictures for all of these, but I would also put the Egypt and Gaza, the Great Pyramid in Egypt, as being another one of those most famous places that fits that category of all of the above. Ley lines, places where ley lines connect and intersect, which makes it a hub, makes it a chakra, a vortex, an earth vortex, and a portal, and a cosmic vortex, interdimensional vortex. All of those things apply with that particular sacred site as well. So those two are the two most well-known that fit into that category. I loved this photo. I did want to put it up here because it also is a time, one of those like long time release images that you have to like leave the shutter open and take it over several hours. And it shows that it is aligned with the cosmos. In fact, it's aligned with the galactic center. It's not just aligned with the sun. It is. In fact, it'll be a big summer solstice celebration next week. I'm recording this recording in June, and there'll be a big summer solstice celebration where the summer solstice sun will align with Stonehenge, and some of the gateways, so to speak, within it will become the sun actually lines and shines right straight through it. So it's considered to be an astronomical solar observatory, and has those solar alignments associated with it and the energy that's connected to that. But then this photo also depicts it being aligned not only with the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, which is what you see there, but that dark place that's right there in the middle, that is in the middle of the spiral arm Milky Way galaxy, is the galactic center. And so this photo actually depicts it being aligned with the galactic center, which when I saw it, I was like, of course, because that's exactly what I felt. I definitely felt that when I was there in 2017. And a magical experience of being able to be there on the spring equinox on my 50th birthday, and to be there for ceremony, to be there when it's open for the public to be able to go inside and be able to interact with the stones, even be able to touch the stones at these certain special times of equinoxes and solstices in which it is open, and got the honor of being invited into the main altar inner circle in the middle during the closing ceremony, and being able to just kind of synchronistically be able to close that ceremony. There was probably at least 300 to 500 people there when we arrived, and that were just kind of cycling out throughout the day. So there's probably more than that. It's just the morning time that it was available. So it was just the morning that the people were kind of cycling in and out. So it was really a special experience for me to be able to lead, co-facilitate, co-lead with my husband, and also our friend that was with us, and those that were there inviting us in to participate in that, to lead song, and like a dance type of song, type of processional out as everything was closing, and they were beginning to wrap up for that ceremony on that equinox. So it was a special experience, and the energy was immense. I can tell you that I felt very drained physically. Even my life force energy felt very drained and depleted prior to going there. And while I was there, and especially while I was there doing meditation and song and drumming, and again helping to co-facilitate the closing of that ceremony, that I felt completely charged. It was like my battery went from low all the way up to full charge, or my if we use the gas tank, kind of from empty all the way up to full. And this is the effect that going to some of these places can have, and most of them, people feel help their energy. There are some, interestingly enough, that people feel can be so powerful that they can have energetic effect of draining their energy. But most of especially the vortex centers, especially on the category of this level, they will be places where we feel like our energy is enhanced by them. They can also help with that type of life force energy, can help with physical healing, and it can also help with spiritual, mental, emotional healing as well. Thus, many of these energy center sites that the sacred sites are associated with, especially, can be places for healing, and have historically been known as places of healing, and places where people make pilgrimages to for ceremonies and meditations, for healings, etc. So it's amazing, really, and I've been drawn to these types of things. Like I said, since the age of 18, I've always been a nature mystic and felt like a real strong connection to spirit and spiritual energy and renewal from nature from as long as I can remember. But at 18, I began to be very interested in these topics tonight. The energy of the earth, and the energy of these ley lines, and these chakra vortex centers of the planet. And I led, at the age of 20 in 1987, I led my very first, I'd say, guided meditation group during the evening of the night of the harmonic convergence in 1987, which was a large spiritual gathering that took place around the world. And that was my first group meditation ceremony, and I led it at the Newark Earthworks in Newark, Ohio, which is a sacred site vortex center that the ancient Adena and Hopewell Indians recognized, and where there's an earthworks built. So not only are they places where stone circles are erected, where megaliths are erected, but they can also be places where earthworks have been built, such as in the case of what's called the mound builders. They can be places where other types of structures have been built, both temple structures, ceremonial structures, as well as even cities. Sometimes there are even locations. For example, I wanted to speak a little bit about China. Again, I don't have multiple slides here to talk about all these different places, but in China, the city of the emperor, where the emperor resided for many, many years, for millennia, actually, is known to thought to be built on that, and not just built on one of those, energetic sites of special, like, power and magnitude, but also aligned with astroarchaeology. I believe it's called astroarchaeology, where it's the study of how the ancients aligned their things, their structures, what they did build at these sites, with the stars, with the cosmos, as we're looking at here in this picture of Stonehenge. So that that alignment being there, even with the city. And then, of course, as time went on and Christianity evolved, the churches and the cathedrals also being built upon many of these spots and many of these sacred sites that were even identified formally beforehand by the ancients, and building chapels, building churches, building great cathedrals, especially some of the most powerful places. There are great cathedrals that were built by Christianity in the millennia that have gone and undergone in past. But yeah, so it's quite amazing just how much has been built there. One of the things that I will point out is the symbol of a spire. The church is having a spire that serves as like a conduit from bringing energy down from the cosmic connection, right? So from the galactic or the universal cosmic energy connection of the grid, so that kind of that universal grid down into the building, obviously, and down into the earth, and from the earth all the way back up, and including taking the prayers and things like that. So the spire is actually almost representing like a needle in the acupuncture point, right? So and think about the megaliths also being like that too. These meridians, where there are these points along the meridians, and some of them are powerful points. They're major chakras, portals, etc. But these points along the meridians in which these things were inserted. A lot of them were pagodas, for example, having some kind of peak or some kind of point. Even a lot of the things that were erected in the temples, the Pyramid of Egypt also having the point, right? Another thing Egyptians used is obelisks. Obelisks run energy from the cosmic energy grid down into the earth and the earth's energy grid, and earth energy from the earth energy grid to the cosmic energy grid, like running that energy back and forth. And especially it was true for hollow obelisks, but many obelisks were solid, and they were used for that purpose as well. And one of the places, I don't want to just talk about places around the world, but one of the places that I am also familiar with, that I've done sacred work at with the Vortex centers, many places I've visited. In fact, I want to make a list someday, and where I've not just visited to see and to feel, but also to work with those energies and even do planetary healing, because as a healer, I'm not just working with individuals for healing. I do that, but I do group healing sessions, and I do planetary healing work as well. But one of the places that I've worked with the chakra quite a bit is in the Washington, D.C. area. It is a place where two major ley lines and more are believed also. I personally believe that there's more, but there's at least two that the geomancers, known as the Freemasons, that were part of the Freemasons, they identified, and they definitely connected that place because of, and connected to that place because of that energy that is there and the vortex that is there. I consider it to be one of the, this is my personal insight into it, I consider it to be one of the solar plexus, which is the power chakra, the power center, power vortex, one of the solar plexus chakras of the planet. And right in the middle of that energy vortex, where those meridians intersect, And it's not just, I don't believe it's just a Earth vortex and a meridian intersection. It's also a cosmic one too, is the world's largest and tallest hollow obelisk. That, again, the obelisks are used to move the energy up and down from the cosmic grid down into the Earth's grid, from the Earth's grid up into the cosmic grid, and to be able to send that energy out throughout all of the energy fields as well. So it's a very powerful place, and a place of power, right? A place of great influence and of great power. And there's too much to go on to that. A lot of these places would be workshops in and of themselves. One of the things I have interest in doing sometime is being able to maybe do a whole, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 class webinar series on this subject, because even these world sites alone, they're so interesting and so intriguing. I'm just going to list off what are a few others. Machu Picchu is another really famous other one, and it is near the town of Cusco, and there's the Cusco lines that run through Peru, and Machu Picchu also has a naturally occurring point in the back, the Huayna Picchu, the mountain that is in the background that you always see in the pictures of Machu Picchu. It's like a naturally occurring point, and that's also another thing that sometimes happens at some of these sites, is that you'll see that some of these sites actually have these natural occurring points that are there as well. Not all of them, and they don't, and if one's not present, doesn't mean it's not a sacred site. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's something that I've seen that I find interesting, that some of them have naturally occurring. The Mayan temples in South America, in Central America, there's so many vortex centers that are associated with them. Many of them are also on the lines and on the vortex centers. Again, I'm not going to have time to speak all about these, but I wanted to at least share some from different places of the world and different cultures. There's definitely some located up in Canada. One of the ones that I'm aware of, so I'm just going to kind of speak from my personal awareness, is Lake Louise in Alberta, Canada, which is, I've received messages from Archangel Michael saying it's one of the heart chakras of the planet, and it's one of the places where he anchors his energy as well, and is considered to be one of his sacred sites, even though there's not a sanctuary built there to him like there is in Europe all along the Michael line. And so then in Southeast Asia, there's Angkor Wat, which is another famous one, which is located in Cambodia. There's so many places in India, way too many to list or to speak about here. But my husband Philip brought this up, so in his honor, he spoke more about this, and he's more knowledgeable about it than I am. But I wanted to at least share a little bit. In Allahabad, India, every 12 years, that sacred space is a place where a great pilgrimage takes place called the Kumbh Mela. And it's believed that there were these drops of heaven that were dropped to the earth at 4 points around where this Kumbh Mela takes place. So think about 4 points, 4 drops. Again, kind of being dropped from heaven. A lot of these things are considered to be, portals for cosmic energy, right? So, and this spiritual gathering is so powerful that thousands, like throngs of people attend the Kumbh Mela, and people that don't even go to spiritual gatherings, yogis that have been living in the forest, the amazing people that show up for them on the pilgrimage. So in addition, he wanted me to share with everybody that that happens every 12 years, and then every 12th every 12th Kumbh Mela is a Maha Kumbh Mela, which is an even greater, right? So that's every 144 years, basically, an even larger gathering that happens. One of the reasons why he wanted to point out this sacred spot out of all of the ones in India, and there's so many others, but he wanted to point it out because it's a pilgrimage that's taken at sacred time, just like going to Stonehenge on the solstices or the equinox, right? So there's something special about that 12-year cycle. There's a sacred time that it always happens and occurs on. And when we can align ourselves with sacred space and sacred time is when it's very, very powerful for us. And that's when we're really in our most natural way of being. We oftentimes don't get a chance to connect with nature at all in our daily lives. We're very busy and we're on, screens a lot. I mean, we even people even time sometimes how many hours of screen time that they have. And it's just being able to get out into nature is a major accomplishment. And then we operate day in and day out on a man-made calendar system and on a man-made timekeeping system, clock system that has some connection to the movement of the sun and the moon, but it's also very disconnected also to the movements of the sun and the stars and the moon. And so our lives really aren't connected to Earth and the Earth energy as much as it used to be. And the cosmos and the cosmic cycles and the cosmic rhythms, the earth cycles and the cosmic rhythms and the earth rhythms, which is associated with what I call sacred time or natural time. And we need to make an effort to. It's something that has put us very out of balance. It's something that we, again, visiting sacred sites that are associated with these sacred energy spots along the planet, going into sacred places and being able to do that at sacred times is something that can help bring us back into balance and restore us and renew us and heal us in so many ways, and can give us guidance, can give us clarity, can help us clear karma, etc. These are all reasons to visit some of these energetically aligned places. And again, you don't have to always just leave your house or travel around the world to do so. There may be some even in your own local area and neighborhood. Sometimes fault lines, for example, if there's any fault lines around, sometimes fault lines, the energy, the ley line meridian lines, those energy pathways are so strong and so powerful that fault lines exist over the top of them. Volcanoes, even dormant ones, can exist over the top of them. Another one of the ones in the world that I can speak directly about is the Kilauea volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii, also known as Volcanoes National Park. That is one of the most powerful vortexes I've ever been to because of how palpable it is for everyone and because the living force is just so obvious and so present. It's a creation vortex. I consider it to be one of the root chakras of the planet because it's always moving energy up from the earth, up from the deep creation core or this creation vortex of the earth, and creating new island every day, and even creating a new island 50 miles offshore every day, and is the most active volcano in the world. And it is this powerful the vortex place that's also cosmically aligned as well. And so there are natural places where there aren't temples or where there aren't shrines, but then there are these places in the earth. However, there are still shrines and temples that are built there. They're just built there by the Hawaiian people. You don't see some large, giant structure at Kilauea. You see, very simple yet beautiful and profound structures that are called heiaus that are associated with sacred sites in Hawaii. But there's still this awareness of how these natural places are these power places, right? So there doesn't have to necessarily always be something grand, so to speak, located there. They are grand in and of themselves. I also believe some of the national parks are places associated with this throughout the United States, not just the Volcanoes National Park, but other national parks if we're looking for places within the United States. It's also possible that some of your state parks, I find that some of the places that we find have great beauty in nature, and we're like just struck in awe by them, are places where they're either on the pathways, right? They're on the meridian lines, or they're small vortexes, or they're chakras, or they're chakra vortex hub portals, right? Where it's all of the above, right? And they can be rivers, also streams. There can be water sources along them. There can be wells and springs also along them. And this is one of the reasons why dowsing is used, because dowsing picks up all of that energy as well. The energy associated with, for example, finding wells and springs is a lot of things that the geomancers would also do, using dowsing for being able to do that. In fact, some of the places in Europe where you'll see some even great cathedrals built are places where there was some sacred energy spot, where there was considered to be a sacred well or a sacred spring, including the Chartres Cathedral in Chartres, France, which is about a half an hour south of Paris. We won't be going there in this particular retreat, but hopefully next year we'll be going and doing another retreat, or maybe the year after that. But hopefully Chartres will be someplace that we visit here again soon. We visited it both in 2012 and 2014, and it's one of the sites where there is a power place, where there is this, sacred earth energy portal vortex connection, and there's this sacred water, this sacred well that was identified for, the long before Christianity came around, and it got built on top of. And this is something that also has happened, is that sometimes over the years, these sites get changed, right? And the energies themselves can change. So not only what's there can change, but the energies themselves can change. The energies, like in our own chakra system and our own meridian system, can wax and wane, right? So the waxing is increasing, waning is decreasing. And so they can decrease and be weaker sometimes, and they can increase and be stronger sometimes. That's very evident at Kilauea, at the Volcanoes National Park in Hawaii. And the volcano becomes very active when that energy increases. There's so much energy there that that hotspot of creation, the scientists call it the hotspot, has created all of the islands in the Thousand Island chain, and then the plates on the ocean floor just move the islands over. So it just keeps creating. That vortex has remained in the same place. It's created all of the islands, and then the ocean just moves the island over, and it just creates it, right? So it created Kauai and Oahu and Molokai and Lanai and Maui, and it's creating the big island of Hawaii, known as Hawaii. So that is a very special place to me, because I lived on the slopes of Mauna Kea there on the big island of Hawaii, and visited Kilauea Volcanoes National Park on a regular basis. I lived there full-time for 14 years, and I still maintain my business there and travel there as often as I possibly can. Maintain my business now in both Hawaii and in California, which is Questing Spirit LLC. So, and one of the things that I love doing is going to Hawaii and spending time at the different vortex centers that are there. Mauna Kea alone is a sacred site and vortex portal into the cosmos. So there's all of that, right? There's all of that. Just to kind of list a few other places. Let's see, I mentioned some of these already. So Ayers Rock is also a place in Australia that is known by the indigenous Aborigines as being one of these type of vortex centers. And the Australians, the Aborigines, actually, they also, similar to the Chinese, have a concept of the lines not just being straight, the pathways not just all being straight, but also of the pathways also coiling and being serpentine-like. They have stories and history and mythology associated with what they call the song lines. And then also the Aborigines talk about and have history and stories and legends of the serpent lines. And it's similar, obviously not the same. There's differences in all these ancient cultures as to how they understood it, what they depicted and described it. But remember, they didn't have what we have now, where there was a lot of talking back and forth and interaction with each other. This is another thing where I'm like, there's got to be something to this, because they didn't all have the ability to just go on Google and look it up, right? Like the Aborigines, for example, didn't have an opportunity to talk to the Hopi, at least unless not via some kind of telephone. Maybe they had some other kind of telepathic communication, who knows. But the Hopi, for example, also have similar stories, and some of their creation stories even, as to this web of life and how the sacred places on the Hopi land, on the Hopi homeland, are connected to that intricate web. Again, going back to that first picture, one of those early pictures that I had, where the globe with the web over it, right? And so that web of life, that intricate grid, that their sacred homeland was part of that, right? And was integrated into that in very special ways. So they have some very interesting stories and creation myths associated with that. And they didn't have a chance to talk to the Aborigines or look up anything on Google back then. So the Aborigines, they have similar concepts, right? Similar concepts. So the ancient cultures, while they didn't have a chance to crosstalk and Google things, they all had things that they understood that were different about these things and unique about these things. And there were things that they understood that were similar about them. And one of the things that was similar, which there seems to be pretty broad consensus on, is that the earth is energy, and that it's filled with these energy lines and these energy pathways. Some of those pathways, the energy moves through straight currents. Some of those energy pathways, the energy moves through coiled serpentine type of patterns. And when a part of our energy anatomy, our own energy anatomy, that I didn't get a chance to speak about earlier or put a graphic in here about, is that up and down through this vertical energy anatomy, this vertical energy axis that's part of our anatomy, there is also a serpentine pathway known as the nadis or the nadis. The nadis is believed to be this pathway that the Kundalini energy, the storehouse of life force energy that's within us, that awakens as we become more spiritually awakened, more spiritually enlightened, and more spiritually aware, that rises up through that. In fact, the medical symbol that is still used, I really wanted to put this slide in here, but the medical symbol that's still used today for American Medical Association and for doctors is the symbol known as the caduceus. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. I might be mispronouncing how it's said, but it's a staff which represents this vertical energy axis, and wings, which represent kind of the crown chakra and opening up to like the energy field, and then this double coiling serpentine that climbs up it. This double coiled serpent that climbs up it. It is almost exactly from some of the images that you get out of the ancient yoga system of the Sushumna, which is one of the Sanskrit words for that vertical energy axis, and the nadis that the Kundalini travels up through, bringing us up to that point of where we connect to everything, the wings that ultimately fan out and connect to everything. So that is something that exists in us, and it exists in the earth. The reason why I bring that up is because of those coiling lines, right? I was talking about how the Aborigines, the Chinese, several different Asian cultures don't just see them just as all straight lines and straight pathways, like everybody's trying to draw maps with all the interconnecting straight lines, but also see them as being sine wave and wave-like patterns. So in fact, I'm going to read a quote as we're going to finish tonight. As I go through the rest of these slides, I got to move on here, but we're going to finish tonight with a meditation. And before the meditation, I'm going to read a quote of a message that I received as a channel for Archangel Michael, and it was from a message from him from 2012 when we were at Mont Saint Michel. And during that message, he talks about how the energy moves in waves, like a sine wave, and you can think of that coiling energy, like a sine wave, right? A sine wave goes up and down like this, like the waves of the ocean, a sine wave, and the movement of that. But I'm just going to wrap up the stuff I'm going to talk about as far as the some of these sites in the world, some of the locations that are well-known locations. These are all just the well-known ones that are also here in the United States, that are famous here in the United States. On the left, we have a picture of the very top of Mount Shasta, which also is a point, which also is a dormant volcano. And Mount Shasta, believed by many to be one of the crown chakras of the planet. However, there's not consensus on any of these, like which chakra is which vortex center is which chakra. I believe that there's so many chakras that the earth has, so many vortex centers, that it transcends the 7 ones we have, and we're always trying to like correlate, the R7 onto understanding these vortexes. I think if you look at what the history, the legends, the lore associated with, as well as what's kind of in modern day been, brought through from people who are energy sensitives and maybe are energy channels or energy healers about these sites, then we'll be able to maybe apply, some knowledge of what we have with our own chakras to them. But there are people that are just kind of randomly assigning them to. I've heard the connection with some people calling, Mount Shasta a root chakra before, and I was like, that makes no sense to me, knowing everything that I know about it. But what makes the most sense to me is that the earth has far more than 7, and we're just trying to use our own 7 to try to understand these different vortexes and the roles that they play. But it's also possible that there's far more than 7 chakras, and we know that there are, and that there's names that were associated with those names for chakras that we don't even have words for. And I think one day we're actually going to be able to understand it much more clearly, and maybe even name some of those chakras of the earth different things instead of just naming them after our own chakras. In the meantime, we can use our own chakras to help us understand. To me, given all the things that I know about Mount Shasta, the experiences that I've had there, the things that I've read about it, both again from modern day energy sensitives and energy channels and healers, as well as from ancient legends and lore, I see it as a crown chakra of the planet, one of them, right? Not the, but one of them. It's also interesting how many indigenous sites consider themselves to be like the navel of the earth or the heart of the earth. Some of the indigenous people will actually say that. They'll say that this is the heart of the earth, or this is the navel of the earth, in some of their even in some of their legends and lore about some places. On the right-hand side, we have Sedona. I've been blessed to be able to go to both of these locations and spend time, again, both receiving energy, giving energy, receiving healing, doing planetary healing work in ceremony, meditation, both for myself personally and in small group setting at both of these locations. So I highly recommend, if you've never visited either one of them. Mount Shasta is in California. Of course, Sedona is in Arizona. And the energies at Sedona are very powerful vortex energies. I personally, again, just with the knowledge I have, this is just my, again, we're not like, definitive on any of these things, but my feeling is that it functions similar to what the navel chakra functions for the earth. And there are some legends that give way to some of that understanding as well. But the navel chakra is the sacral chakra. It's the term that I use for the sacral chakra. The energies there are palpable. The mystical experiences people have there are palpable. And there's been a lot of mapping, especially of the Shasta and Sedona area. In fact, recently I came across a book that had a lot of mapping of the ley lines and some of the meridian lines and meridian points throughout the Sedona area. So there is some of that information that is out there, and I think there's, again, more for it to come. So we're going to go then and talk about some of of the, so we're going to leave these topics and we're going to go to Europe, and we're going to talk about especially the United Kingdom, and then going into France. So there's a lot known about the ley lines, especially, and a lot of different maps and mapping that have been done of the ley lines, especially through Great Britain and through France and other parts of Europe. The two images that you see here, the one that I like the most is the one on the left. So I actually should have tried to make it bigger, but I tried to make it bigger and it made it just blurrier. So the one I like the most is on the left because I think it's a little bit easier to understand. But at least the one on the right, you get a chance to see that there are all of these different, different places that are located along them, especially places where there are abbeys, places where there are megaliths, places where there are standing stones, places where there's dolmens and menhirs, and sacred stone circles, and Glastonbury, which is one of the famous sites that is associated with the Michael line that goes through England. That Michael line that goes through there, Glastonbury Tor sits in one of the prominent places on that line and is one of the more well-known places on that line. And of course, it is the tower that we see that sits up on top of the Glastonbury Tor. That tower is a remnants of the remains of a church to St. Michael. And so what I'm going to focus on the most, because it's just, again, these are workshops in and of themselves, is two lines. Primarily visible mostly on the left-hand side in the image that's on the left-hand side. If you look down at the very bottom, the gray map here, the very bottom of the left-hand corner of this, it says the Michael Mary line, the rainbow serpent. It's not very easy to see, but you'll see a straight line that starts down at the tip of Cornwall and it goes all the way across England from the south up east, so if you're going northeast, basically. So it starts in the south of Cornwall and it goes up through England, northeast, that straight line. It has all these points and very, very close to each other, right? All located very close to each other. Some of them right on the line, some of them just a little off to the right, some of them a little off to the left. And that's a very important point. The thing that I need to actually share about, that is the Michael line that goes through England. And the reason why I think it's important for us to talk a little bit, and I'll share a little bit about why the points, some of them are just slightly off the line, while some of them are, slightly above the line, below the line, is because some of them are not located exactly on the map, right? Exactly on the straight line on the map. But these aren't just, again, thin little lines we're seeing on a map. These are entire energy meridians. The meridians in the body are wide. They're not tiny little lines. They have width to them. So think about how much more so in the body of the Earth, right? Some of the meridian energy pathways in the Earth are many, many, many feet wide, yards wide, some of them even miles wide. I've felt like I've come into contact and worked with some that are definitely within a few miles of it. You're still within the vicinity. You're still in the energy of that meridian line. So let's not just be attached to it. Just again, kind of this left brain ideology that it has to be perfect on this tiny thin little thing that's drawn on a map. Let's again try to remember and think of it as entire energy pathways flowing through the Earth, some of them narrower than others, but some of them quite wide, actually. And then but you can't really see it too well. You can see it a couple of places, but along that Michael line, which is also why it's also called the Mary line, and it's also known as the rainbow serpent, is a coiling line that actually coils along up through the straight line. And that coiling line is known as the Mary line. And the coiling lines are thought to be feminine. So the moving the feminine energy, the feminine polarity, it has nothing to do with gender, right? There's no like gender here when I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about what the Chinese would refer to as the yin force, the yin energy, which we, in our language, we don't have any words for other than the feminine energy, the feminine quality of energy, the feminine force of energy. We have both feminine and masculine energy inside of us, regardless of what our physical gender is. The earth has feminine and masculine energy and polarity within it. It has nothing to do with gender, right? So, but it's still the energy, and it moves. The feminine energy is believed to move more in the coiling pattern, and that's the part that's known as the meridian. And there's places along there where they intersect, where that coil intersects the straight line, right? And Glastonbury is one of those famous points of intersection, where the feminine polarity combines with the masculine polarity. I'm going to point out another line that is really important, and this is going to get me into talking about the retreat for a little bit. And well, I'll talk about France, and then the Michael line going through France and Europe, and then I'll talk about the retreat for just a few minutes, and then I'll wrap up with the meditation. But the other line I wanted to point out here is the north-south line that you see pretty much going through the middle of this Great Britain area. And down at the bottom also you'll see the name of it down at the bottom, written at the very bottom there is Rose Line, the Rose Line. The Rose Line is another famous line associated with the feminine energy, but it's a straight line. So it's not like always that the feminine energy is associated with the coiling line. It's something that we don't really understand fully yet. I can't tell you I have a good explanation as to why some of the feminine energy lines are coiling, why some of the feminine energy lines are straight. I think we need to try to not like fit it all in a nicely, fit box that we can just say, oh, there it is. We can just kind of stamp it, label it, and say, we know that. We know everything there is to know about that. We don't. We have a long way to go in order to understand it. But the Rose Line is believed to be a feminine energy line associated also with the Mary Magdalene and Mary Magdalene lineage and mysteries, and also some of the Grail mysteries also. A lot of famous places along the Rose Line associated with Mary Magdalene's mysteries, associated with Grail legends and Grail mysteries. And the Rose Line doesn't just go through the United Kingdom. It actually also goes through France as well. So this line here on the map on the left indicates it going all the way down through France, and it also indicates a coiling line going up around it as well. So it's very interesting, some of the history associated with this line. I'm not going to be speaking too much about it. It would make this presentation so much longer, but I will be talking more about it when we are doing our retreat, because when we do our retreat, we will be on both the Michael line that goes through Europe, that goes through France, and the Michael and the Rose line. As the Rose line, one of the places that it passes through is Paris. So I'm going to come back to this slide and talk about the Rose Line a little bit more. But before I do, this is something that this other slide here is something that I wanted to show you to help us start to try to visualize this a little bit better than just flat, lines on a flat map. This actually is coming from Astronomy Plus Physics is the name of the website, and it's actually a video. I took these screenshots off of a video of what it looks like when you put into motion. So the video actually is animated, right? So they're putting into motion the movement of our solar system and all the planets that are circling around the sun as the sun moves around the galaxy. So let's not forget that the planets, yes, they're circling around the sun, but the sun itself is also circling around the galaxy, and they're all moving at very, very fast speeds, right? They're high energy, very profound energy. There's so much energy that's there, and they're moving at very fast speeds. So I wish I could show the video. I didn't know how to input the video into it because of just how embedded the video was. And I didn't understand, I don't know technologically how to do that. But again, here on the left, we see a picture of what most of us think of when we think of the solar system, and that the planets themselves have these invisible lines, right? These invisible energy pathways that they travel. The planets themselves have invisible energy pathways that they move and that they travel in. So this is the kind of the classic model we've been shown for quite some time now, and now they're starting to animate it and make it more like full motion to try to show us what it's really more like. The one on the right is showing us really what it's more like. So it's not just this perfectly symmetrical thing, unless we're looking at it from a certain perspective or a certain angle. I'm not saying that this is incorrect, and especially very correct when it talks about the energy pathways that these orbital pathways are, right? So these energy pathways that are orbital pathways. But then when you put it into motion, you put the sun into motion, and you see the sun following its own pathway, right? So it has its own energetic, or orbital pathway that it follows. So that straight line that goes off from the sun, and then all these spiraling lines that are around it. This is the spiraling energy of the movement of the planet, right? So I feel like this is my intuition about it. When I saw it, I was like, this is one of the best ways for us to begin to try to visualize what's actually happening in some of these places, right? That we have the lines, we have the pathways, we have the meridians or the energy pathways, we have the vortexes. You can think of the sun, the planets in this graphic kind of representing those powerful energy spots or those powerful energy places, and then their movements, right? Their movements, and how some of those pathways, they represent the movements and the movements of how it's all moving. And so that's how it's believed throughout these lines, right? So that the energy is moving. It's not just stagnant. It's not just moving in the places where those special buildings are built or where those special megaliths or dolmens or stone circles are built. It's actually moving, living life force energy within the earth, around the earth, coming up from the earth. It's not just staying inside the earth, it's actually coming up from the earth. And then in some instances, the cosmic forces, the cosmic energy is actually being drawn down in as well. So back to the rose line, I said this picture here on the right depicts the rose line as it's going down through a very specific part of Paris. And the reason why I've honed in on this is the very specific part of Paris that we will be in during our Mystical France Soldiering in Mont Saint-Michel retreat. We're going to be in Paris for the first night and also for the last night of the retreat, but they're going to be power-packed days of really being able to get some amazing experiences when we're there, including more teaching that I'll be giving on the subject of the rose line to participants when we have both our participant webinars and we'll have teachings all along the way. I'll be doing on the retreat. We'll be arriving in Paris, and it'll be the eve before the full moon. We'll be in the 3-day cycle of the powerful full moon that will be on Michaelmas when we get to Mont Saint-Michel the next day. It'll be the full super moon, the full moon, and it'll also be Michaelmas. But we'll be arriving in Paris on the eve of the evening before, right before the full moon, and we'll be staying on the rose line, not necessarily that line, the red line, but the circle there, the circle that is like the entire, like at least the minimum of the energy field extends out around that of the region there at Saint Sulpice Cathedral, which is the second largest cathedral next to Notre Dame, which we won't have access to because of the fire damage still being reconstructed. But the Saint Sulpice Church is the second largest church in Paris, and it is located directly on the rose line, and there's so many like sacred mysteries there associated with the sacred feminine, associated with Grail legends, associated with Mary Magdalene, etc. Many of you may know of it from the famous book that was written by Dan Brown called The Da Vinci Code, because St. Sulpice was written about in that book. There's things, obviously the Da Vinci Code is fiction, but there's things within that fiction that's also based on some historical information. And when he mentions the rose line, and when he talks about the rose line, there's historical context to the rose line. It's not a fictional thing. The rose line also flows down through the Garden of Luxembourg. Down here you see Palais de Luxembourg. That's the Palace of Luxembourg, and then Jardin, Jadrin, is garden. And so where we're staying is literally in this circle directly across. When we're in Paris, both at the beginning and the end of the retreat, we'll be staying on the rose line directly across from St. Sulpice. In fact, the hotel is in that circle, right? So we're staying on the rose line. So we're starting and we're ending the Mystical France retreat we're having in September 28th through October 5th, 2023. So October 5th, 2023. We're starting and ending at this location on the rose line. We'll have our opening teachings, our opening ceremony at St. Sulpice, our opening meditation, prayer, etc. at St. Sulpice, and then we'll have the closing on the day of our departure in the world famous Luxembourg Garden, right there again on the rose line. And I'll give more teaching and instruction on that as time goes on. Then, after we arrive and everybody meets up at the hotel that's right across from St. Sulpice, we have our first night there. We'll be going to a soul journey to Mont Saint-Michel. Mont Saint-Michel is one of the spots that's here on this ley line map, which is, I'd say, the ley line map that includes the Michael line through Europe, and then the Rose line through Great Britain is one of the world famous lines. Those lines are some of the most world famous in the world. And then the other one that is one of the most famously mapped ones in the world is known as the Michael line that goes through Europe. That it basically starts way down here, well, which way you play it, where it starts or whatever, but it goes from Skellig Michael, which I believe Philip said was in Ireland, I believe. Could be wrong about that, so I apologize if I am. And down through, and it flows through the Michael's Mouth that is located in Cornwall. And then it flows through the English Channel, where it will also intersect with the Rose line, by the way. The Michael line takes a turn and goes up the other direction throughout England as well. It actually, again, isn't just a straight line, right? It kind of also moves and flows this way. So it's moving and flowing this way, moving and flowing this way. And there's a Michael's Mount in the Cornwall area of the English Channel, and there's a Michael's Mount in the Normandy area of northern France, and in between is the English Channel. And in the English Channel is where the Rose line and the Michael line actually intersect. You can see that here in this picture, that the Rose line goes down. You see the gray down there being the water of the English Channel. It goes down into France, which flows through France, but along the way in the English Channel, it will cross the Michael line there. They will actually cross the sacred vortex. I feel like the most sacred vortex is out in the water itself. And I had this amazing dream experience. It's so great to go and stay at any of these sacred sites and these energy vortex centers, and to sleep, not just to perform ceremony and meditate just for a day, but sleeping is considered to be something where we're able to like tap into their energies even more and be able to dream and bring about healing through dreams. There's all kinds of legends and history about that at many of these places. For example, in Greece, this Michael line flows through Greece. In Greece, the dream temples were very well-known, famous places where to go and to dream and to have healing and messages and insight and clarity and guidance come to a person, when they were in those dream temples. So we're going to be actually able to spend 5 nights on Mont Saint Michel, which is the Mount of Saint Michael in French, right? So we have Saint Michael's Mount in on the English side in Cornwall, and then Mont Saint Michel, which in French stands for Mount of Saint Michael in Normandy, France. And that English channel in between is where the Michael line and the Rose line intersect. And the dream experience that I had was when in 2012, when I first led my first group retreat to Mont Saint Michel. I said a prayer before I went to sleep the first night we were there, and I said, Archangel Michael, can you just show me or tell me more about what makes this place so special? And I saw a giant in my dream. I saw a giant hand with a giant finger writing in the sand, because it's a very unique place where the tides are very unusual. The tides there around Mont Saint Michel, that particular tidal island, the tides go way, way, way out for many miles, and they come in for many miles, and they can come in very rapidly, and they can get very high and very low. But I saw this finger writing in the sand in the bay, because the tide was out in the dream. So in the dream, the tide was out, and there was just the sand there at the time. And this large finger and this large hand wrote, "This place is light activated," and it was the bay, right? So not just the sacred mount and the sacred rock that is located at this place on this meridian, but the bay itself, which again, the bay is actually out there where the Rose line and where the Michael line are going to be intersecting, where those two powerful energy pathways, energy meridians intersect, is the bay. So it goes from then St. Michael's Mount, so to Mont Saint Michel in Normandy, France, and then it goes all the way down through other parts of France into Italy. Parts of Italy, one of the other most famous shrines and sanctuaries associated with Archangel Michael. And a lot of these places have Archangel Michael, churches, sanctuaries, such etc. But one of the other most famous ones on this line is Mount Gargano in Italy, which even is older than Mont Saint Michel, which Mont Saint Michel was began to be turned into a sanctuary for Archangel Michael as a result of dream experiences in the year 708 and following. It didn't become what it became today, and with these incredible, this incredible abbey that is there, and this incredible ancient village that is there, until much later. That construction began 11th century, 12th century, 13th century, until we began to see what's there today. But 708 was when the dream experience came, in which he was guided. Bishop Aubert was guided to by Archangel Michael, visited by him, and many people believe they've been visited by him there, and there have been many miracles associated with Archangel Michael, associated with Mont Saint Michel as well. And so many mystical experiences people have had. But he asked for the shrine and the sanctuary to be built there for him and in his honor. And then also Mount Gargano being one of those places where he also appeared and asked, but it was in the 4th century or the 5th century, I believe, either the 4th century or the 5th century, when Mount Gargano and that visitation was happening. But the Michael line doesn't just stop there. It goes and flows through Delphi, Greece, Athens, Greece. It flows through Delos, Rose, and all the way into Israel, into Mount Carmel. So this is one of the most famous places, and a lot of these places have very sacred energies and things associated with Archangel Michael. So that's the Michael line. This is Mont Saint Michel. This is what it appears as today. Like I said, it took time for it to evolve into this. It has amazing history. It's celebrating right now its 1,000-year anniversary. I just saw, and you can look this up, you can Google it, a CNN article on the 1,000-year celebration of what you see here as far as the Abbey itself. But of course, it's been longer than that, 1,300 years since the original visitation, and some of the original small, altar, small chapel that gets built into a bigger chapel. Eventually the chapel on the rocks was built, etc. In fact, you see a very small chapel here on the picture on the left, down by the water. The one picture on the left is when it's fully surrounded by water. These days, it has been a bridge has been built so that during high tides it can be fully surrounded by water again. For a while, that was not possible because of the causeway that had been built, but now there's been a bridge built where it can be. But this small chapel that you see down on the left-hand side is called the Chapel on the Rocks. It's much older than the Abbey, but the Abbey itself and the village that you see there is celebrating its 1,000-year anniversary. It's a World UNESCO Heritage Site, so UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it is listed as the #1 travel destination in Condé Nast for 2023. There's no greater time to visit it than at sacred times. So it is on this Michael Meridian. It is a rock that all of this is built on, right? So everything that you see here is a rock. That's what the mount is. The mount is a rock, a granite rock that it was all built on, that sits on this point and overlooking this place where, again, looking out into the bay and the English Channel, over the area where the Rose Line and the Michael Line actually intersect. A sacred site associated with Archangel Michael, also associated with the Black Madonna tradition. That is another thing that we will tell more about to the participants and people that will be coming with us. This are also pictures here. This is the spire atop the Abbey, and some pictures of the inside of the Abbey. We'll be taking people around different parts of the island. We'll be having daily workshops on the subject of healing our hearts, working with Archangel Michael, communicating with Archangel Michael, communicating and receiving dreams and dream guidance. We'll be doing some amount of dream work and dream guidance with everybody every day. During our breakfast time, will be an opportunity to talk about any dream experiences that we may have as we take the opportunity to go to this sacred site. It is not just on the meridian. It's not just a meridian point. It's not just a vortex. It's also one of those ones, like I was saying in the very beginning, that qualifies also as a portal. Like it's a hub, and it's also a portal. So there's the portal energies open up, right? They open up not just earth energies, but also cosmic energies, multidimensional energies, spiritual world, spiritual experiences, and things along that line and along that nature. So the thing I'll say about the Black Madonna tradition is that before Archangel Michael appeared to Aubert, this rock that was there prior to all this building and construction that happened was a site associated with the sacred feminine, the sacred goddess tradition. And there was a sacred well that was there. And there also was a sacred spring that Aubert himself was guided to find. So again, these waterways, these sources of water and sources of fresh water that can sometimes also be located at these sites that also are known for their healing properties. That's also an interesting fact associated with Archangel Michael and Mont Michel. So I'll tell more about the Black Madonna tradition in the history of Archangel, the history of Mont Michel later. But the picture here on the left is the Black Madonna that is present there. It's a replica of the original that was there for many centuries until it was destroyed, and this replica has been there for quite a number of years. I don't know the exact date that the replica was installed, but why I wanted to point it out too is because it's known as the Black Madonna of the earth, or of the inner earth, the Black Madonna of the inside of the earth. So it's also very appropriate that it's there, and where it's at is like very, very deep down inside the Abbey, and very deep down, connecting with the rock of that place. It's located right near like the chapel where it's believed to be kind of the original chapel that Aubert built. So it's a very special Black Madonna for it to be connected to the inner earth for that reason, for that purpose. So The rose line is also connected to, so the rose line, the Michael line, rose line intersect in the channel right outside of, right off of the, in the bay, right in the bay. And the rose line mysteries of things associated with it, including from the Knights Templars work with the rose line, is connected also to the Black Madonna tradition. So that's a whole other long story and workshop in and of itself. But I'm going to be working with this theme, keeping your heart open, answering the call of destiny throughout the workshops, and it's just going to be a lot of wonderful experiences, lots of fun, really good opportunity to connect with other people, meet kindred spirits, and we still have 2 spaces available as of right now. If you're watching this video, later in the summer or as the weeks go by, please just feel free to contact us and see if there's any space still available, or if we might be able to fit you in some way, shape, or form. We're taking a very small group of 10 to 12 of us, and that is going to be an opportunity for us to go very deep, and yet also to create some really great experiences with this energy. We'll be going there and arriving, so we'll be leaving from Paris, the Rose Line, going to the Michael Line, and going to Mont Saint-Michel on the full moon, which is the super moon, on September the 29th, which is Michaelmas. So the international worldwide feast celebration of Archangel Michael, which is a very sacred day in the Christian tradition. And we'll be arriving there on the full moon. And this particular full moon of Michaelmas is going to also be a super moon when the moon is closest to the earth, and the tides will be influenced dramatically because of that. The tides will be quite amazing and quite spectacular during this time period to be at this sacred place at this sacred time. So that brings me to our meditation to close. So I'm just going to drink a water. I've been feeling kind of tongue-tied tonight. I think it's partially because my throat is dry. So I want you to get yourselves ready for meditation. As you're getting yourself ready, I'm going to read this passage that is a message that I received in deep trance meditation from Archangel Michael that was transmitted through me as a conscious trance channel. And it describes the energy of our times and the specialness of our times that we're living in, and how energy moves in waves. And then I'm going to go from reading this into leading the meditation. It'll be short. I can also tell you, so this is the quote from Archangel Michael, that there is a great transformation, a transcendence that is happening worldwide. It is happening in waves. Frequency and energy moves in waves. The dragon energy of the earth, for example, it is a wave form, it is a wave pattern, and flows in a sine wave pattern. This is how energy moves and how light moves. The light moves in a wave, in you, in the earth, and in all life. Let those waves move freely through you. They are coming as surely as the tides of the sacred bay. So this was channeled in Mont Saint-Michel when I was there in 2012. They move as surely as the tides in the sacred bay. There are many mysteries written here in the stone, written here in the symbols, things to understand intuitively, like the waves that come in and out of the bay. You can always have faith in the waves. Have faith in the waves of energy that are moving through you now, that are sweeping through the planet now. These waves of light that are infusing everything and everyone. And in that faith and with that faith, surrender. Surrender to the waves of all-encompassing light and love. Surrender all to the light. All right, so we're going to sit back and close our eyes. And we're going to begin by taking some long, slow, deep breaths in order to center ourselves. And I want you to just follow along with me as I guide the meditation. First, I want you to focus on your breathing. consciously focus on slow, deep inhales and exhales, going at your own pace. And be aware as you're breathing consciously, the wave of energy that's moving through your breath, the wave of energy that lifts your chest when you inhale, and the wave of energy that moves out through the exhale as the chest falls, moving and animating the life force moving in you as the breath. Just focusing the mind on slow, deep breathing and being aware of the energy that moves in with the inhale and out with the exhale, moving like a wave, rising and falling within the cycle and the pattern of your breath. And then I want you to begin to visualize in your mind's eye that same wave of energy that's moving like a wave through your breath, moving all the way through your body. Visualize waves of light and feel that light and that energy and the love that is associated with that light, moving like waves throughout your entire body, your entire being. And feel those waves of energy spinning and spiraling through the vortexes of your chakras. And feel yourself being filled by this light and it moving freely through you, all the way up into the heavens, into the spiritual world, into the cosmos, and all the way down into the earth. The waves of light flowing now freely all the way through your entire energy anatomy, all the way down into the earth, connecting you into the Earth's grid, the Earth's energy system. And the Earth energy moving like waves of light through you, into your aura, into your central energy axis, flowing up through into your chakras, into your meridians. All the way up into the universal cosmic grid, the spiritual grid, and all the way back down, waves of light, waves of energy, spinning, spiraling, vortexes of waves of energy moving through your entire being. From the celestial grid to the Earth's grid, from the Earth's grid to the celestial grid, lighting up the entire energy grid and energy matrix in your body, in your energy field, and filling you with vital life force energy for health, happiness, wholeness. We'll let ourselves just sit in silent meditation for a few moments and feel this energy. Allow this energy to just move freely within us. And then we'll bring our awareness back to our breath. We'll take another deep inhale and then exhale at your own pace. And then just slowly begin to open your eyes. Coming up out of the meditation. Coming back fully now into full waking state. This is a very simple practice you can do, the simple exercise, the simple meditation, but even simpler for connecting with the Earth's energy grid on a daily basis, where no matter where you are, the Earth's energy is available to us. We're always, one of the things I love about some of the Native American teachings is there's sacred land you walk upon with every step you take, right? That has always resonated with me. Just being, we're all on the earth, right? We're all connected to it energetically. So some of the even simpler meditation techniques that are out there are called grounding techniques. And many of them allow us to tap into the Earth's energy and into the Earth's energy grid and the crystalline matrix of the Earth, which I didn't even have time to talk about at all today, which very much plays a role in all of these things as well. The crystalline matrix is the matrix that's made up of the crystals and the minerals of the Earth and how they run some of this energy or are connected to this energy. So grounding techniques, also known as earthing techniques, they're some of the easier things that you can do for yourself on a regular basis. Just make that connection with the Earth's energy, no matter where we are. Even if we're in the middle of a office building on the workday, and if we're in the middle of a traveling or something like that, we can still make these connections through simple grounding techniques, earthing techniques, etc. So I wanted to thank everybody for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Invite you to go to mysticalfrance.com, read more about the retreat. Especially if you're interested in going with us, we have payment plans available. We're also offering a $300 discount to anybody watching this video who wants to register, and then mention that on the registration form that you can fill out on the registration page. When you're looking at the website for the retreat, there's a few pages that's really important for you to look at and read thoroughly if you're interested in coming. I highly recommend reading the entire itinerary page. It's very detailed as to what we're going to be doing each day, where we're going to be doing, what the workshops are going to be, etc. In addition, there's the pilgrimage program page of the website, which outlines the spiritual things that we're going to be doing, and a lot of these things that I've been talking about as far as sacred time, sacred place, why go on pilgrimage, what all is included in the package as far as the pilgrimage program itself, etc. And then, of course, the registration page, which has the terms and conditions as well as the online info form. You fill out that form, and then I will contact you if you're interested in registering. So I hope that I'll hope to see a couple of you, or some of you joining the retreat, and I hope that everybody else has really enjoyed the presentation and has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful summer. Okay, thank you, and let me finish the stop share screen, and then I'll say fully goodbye, and thank you very much, everybody.